NASA's rover Curiosity is providing spectacular images of Mars. Now anyone with a computer can follow its daily travels and images sent back to Earth. Most look at the images and are amazed by their quality and definition. However, a closer look reveals certain anomalies that scream out for explanation. The quality of the Mars images now supplies intricate details of Curiosity's exploration of the barren planet. This means anyone who will take the time to closely examine them will end up with questions about specific parts of the images. Most casual observers will not take the time to study each in detail. This observer did, spending thousands of hours over 5 years reviewing over 1 million images of the Mars rovers. The more photos I examined, the more questions I had about the images. This presentation is a brief summary of 15 examples with intriguing anomalies. There are many, many more. 3 months into Curiosity's exploration of Mars, NASA began producing selfies of Curiosity. In this composite picture on the right of multiple selfies, it is noteworthy that after traveling several miles over Martian terrain in a 4-year period, Curiosity managed to position itself at the same exact point on the horizon line behind it each time. The top left image is from one of those famous selfies, and when we enlarge it and take a closer look at the neck of the mast, we can observe an odd-shaped bright white object. Curiously, the small white object was not there in an earlier selfie taken on Sol 613, as we can see up in the upper right, nor was it there ever seen again in any other selfie. The brown strap on the turret of Curiosity's robotic arm has been stamped and sourced as JPL Master Artwork. JPL was responsible for the design and manufacture of Curiosity. It does seem inconsistent that a $2.5 billion rover would be described as artwork. In a recent conversation with a Curiosity design engineer at JPL, he stated that JPL didn't have an artwork department and could not explain why it would have been identified as such. In this black and white image, we can observe Curiosity's right middle wheel. When we study the enlargement, we can see an inexplicably odd shape and size of 2 rows of treads. When we compare it to the color image on the right, we can clearly see that these 2 rows have been altered within large slats that protrude significantly from the wheel. The other treads are cut close to the wheel. How did these treads get changed? These color images were taken by the Mastcam. It is peering down the front of Curiosity's equipment deck, capturing a support bracket. The image on the right shows the correct view, but the one on the left, it appears a gray-colored object has been secured to the bracket by brown tape. Presumably, the presence of the tape was to create the effect of seeing a shadow. We can see from the right image the correct width of that section of the bracket, as seen by the arrows. The bracket on the left cannot be seen because it is obscured by the tape. What is the gray object? And who taped the gray object to Curiosity? Here are 3 examples of the same housing unit that is a part of the turret. The first 2 images show that the round section for these wires has a hole perforated in the bottom. In the image on the far right, it does not appear to have that hole. Was it digitally removed? Who edited it? And for what reason would that have been done? Here we see how a support bracket was completely changed in the front of Curiosity. In this comparison of two images, the design of a support bracket has been altered. In the black and white image on the left, the support bracket is straight and runs parallel with the round cylinder and does not make contact with it. In the color image, we are now observing from a side perspective, but can still see the support bracket now comes at an angle from the cylinder and now forms a V-shaped bracket that anchors it to the deck. How did the equipment get changed? The color image on the left shows the right side of Curiosity taken from a ground perspective by the MOLLE camera. Curiously, a black box with a white dot appears on the equipment deck, as is shown in the enlargement on the right. The middle image with a higher perspective shows that same location where the box was on Curiosity's equipment deck. When we look down, there is no black box there. Where did the black box come from? This intriguing image of Curiosity's robotic arm motor shows what appears to be two black straps that should not be there. The correct view, as is shown in the image on the right, is one that is open and able to have an unobstructed view of the Martian surface. Where did the black straps come from? This series of three images is of the same section of Martian surface that were taken on 3 consecutive days. How is it possible a series of rocks were added the second day and then removed on the third day? Interestingly, according to Curiosity's drive log, she drove 144 feet on Sol 159, 118 feet on Sol 160, and another 4 feet on Sol 61, and yet was able to come back and position herself to capture an image of the exact same location on all 3 days. In the color image on the left, we are looking down on the left side of Curiosity. Here we can see there's a small gray square box and 2 black hoses just behind it. But when we look at the black and white image on the top right, we can see an object has been placed on top of the black hoses. In the lower right image, which was taken at the exact same time as the other black and white one, but from a different perspective, right cam versus the left nav cam, the object is no longer observed. In this series of images, it is curious how the RAD, the radiation sensor on the equipment deck, which starts out black and then somehow turns to bright white in the image below on Sol 2210. Interestingly, in the upper right image on Sol 2256, clearly shows photoshopping. The sensor has been again changed back to black in the bottom right image in 2293. Why is the RAD being photoshopped? In each of these 6 images taken from random positions around Curiosity, it appears they were photoshopped in a poor attempt to show a lens flare. Why do they edit the images to show lens flares? Or is there something in the image that is being covered up? In the color image on the left, we see a close view of Curiosity's wrist joint and the turret with the scientific tools. The red arrow is pointing to an anomalous object that does not belong there. The image on the far right displays the same part and shows the opening, which is elongated and should be open with a slight beveled edge. How did this unidentified object appear in this image? In this striking image on the left, Curiosity's elbow azimuth motor has been positioned facing the wrong direction. The round black base of each of the motors is the connection point for the robotic arm, as is shown in both images on the right. The design and range of motion of Curiosity's robotic arm would not allow the elbow joint to be in this position. Both the upper arm and forearm should be attached to this elbow joint and visible in this image, but they are not. How did Curiosity's robotic arm get manipulated into this position? The objective of this information is to raise awareness and interest to develop further research and study into the authenticity of the raw images that are posted on NASA's website daily.